Hello and welcome, ladies and turds, to another lovely episode of The Slovak Mounted Man. That is I, the Slovak Mounted Man, and welcome, yes, welcome everybody. I will be teaching you. Who, me? Yes, you. And me? Yes, and you too. And you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and you. But not you, because you're ugly.
Hi, who you calling ugly? Ugly?
I shall be showing everybody how I created this blue tunic from the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, in case you haven't played the game. Normally Link in the Legend of Zelda series, he wears a green tunic, throughout his adventure, whereas in this one, he actually wears a different outfit. It's completely blue. So this entire outfit, consists of 4 parts, as you can see. First will be the white undershirt, as you can see here. It's a long sleeve white shirt, The only thing I did differently is I just painted it by the color, so it can be seen. Next would be these white sleeves that I took, from like these white toddler pants and painted them as well. After that would be these gloves that are actually from a brown shirt, and I sew it together as well. And finally, the blue tunic itself, which is just a normal shirt, cut a few times, painted, and, turned into what you see here. So the way I actually started this entire process was I first looked up images of Link, and I put them together onto one reference sheet. So I can carry this around, as I go to the thrift store that, sell stuff, for cheap, especially like clothing and stuff. So I got like all this material combined probably for like $10 in total. So once I had all these items, and I was satisfied with what I found, I took them home and I started with what I think was the least amount of work, the easiest to the hardest, So I started off with the actual white undershirt, here. So what I did, I actually took a light green, orange, and dark green colors that I had, sitting around, and I actually just kind of looked at the picture and drew what you see here, for this little design. And then as that was drying in the corner, I actually started working on the pants themselves. I cut them in half right from the middle, and kind of removed the seams that you see on the side here. And then on the edges, I actually took some scissors, and I cut like these little like battle scars and, like indentations. So the entire thing isn't like smooth, but it's supposed to look like, Link just came out of a battle. I don't know how to explain it, but the pants were like some kind of fuzzy, weird material. So I had to go around with the paint a few times just to get it, into this bright color. After that was finished, I took the brown shirt and placed my hand on top of it and then used like a pencil or a Sharpie to create like an outline, And I've learned that it's always handy to, cut on the edges at least 2 inches extra than you will need normally. So I made 4 pieces like this and then I was ready to sew them all together. And after that was finished, I flipped the gloves over so all those markings and indentations were on the insides, and so you would only get like a clean, surface on the outside. And after the gloves were finished, the sleeves actually dried as well, and so I brought them over to get sewn too. And then once the gloves and the sleeves were basically like sewn together, they were finished. And like I said before, it wasn't like that much hard work, it was just kind of time consuming. What took a really long time to make though was the actual tunic itself. So I had the blue shirt to begin with, and what I wanted to do first is cut the collar and make it, into the same shape that Link has, in the game. So I used some scissors first, as well as some X-Acto knife, but it was making things very, very difficult, It was very slow and like tedious process, and eventually I like completely forgot, but my mom, she actually has these special clothing scissors, with like zigzag shape on them. So I'd highly recommend finding some of those, because that makes, cutting clothes go like butter, And once this was finished, I went online and started looking for the actual design that I wanted to, draw or print on the shirt itself. And luckily, 1 week before I started working on the actual tunic, this YouTuber named Happy Adam, he created a shirt himself. So what I did, I just kind of borrowed his, his design, and I printed it out myself. And I must have like forgotten my glasses or something, or I was blind, but he obviously said, that the size was for the children and the small. And as you may have guessed, I'm like the size of like 20 children, So to fix that, I actually took his design, I put it into Photoshop, and I modified it myself, I customized it. And then afterwards, I laid the shirt on the ground and taped the template right on top of it, I used a lot of tape to hold down, the edges and every single like little piece that you see on the design. And then afterwards, I used some of this white fabric paint, and took my time. It was very, very, very tedious, it took a few hours to do, but it was worth it in the end. I took my time to paint every single detail, and after I applied one coat of it, I didn't like how it actually turned out, it was kind of like still light blue. You you can see the white, but it wasn't very strong. So I actually waited for it to dry, and then on the next day, after I woke up, I painted a second coat on it. And then afterwards, I waited for that to dry as well, and then applied a third and final coat to that. And after everything like dried, I removed the pages. Some of them, like tore and stayed on the shirt itself. So I spent a little bit, trying to peel all that off and to try and get rid of, any of those like weird deformed like shapes and stuff. So I used like a thicker, blue Sharpie to get, most of it down and kind of like create like this shadow look on the outside. Whereas the other blue Sharpie I used was like a fine tip, point that I kind of went in there and, individually like dotted to get any of the spots that I missed. And overall, that took quite a long time as well to do. And I did this to every single line here that you can see, And at that point, the tunic was basically finished. And the last, few things I had to do to finalize the entire design was add these strings here, So I used like this blue yarn and kind of just like made holes onto the side here of the color and just like threw them into here, And then on the side, both left and right of this tunic, I actually cut, I think like 7 inches or so to give, this entire tunic that like final like flap look, And with that said, everything was basically done right there. And on the day that, we started streaming, my poster actually arrived as well. It's not necessary, to have, but I was able to get this for like $5 online, this ginormous, Breath of the Wild poster. But I hope, it was worth it because it seems people enjoyed it, when we played it on the stream. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching, everyone. If you would like to see the actual playthrough, of Breath of the Wild, take a yonder, somewhere in the corner here on my gaming channel, or take a yonder at my other videos on Action Channel. And I hope you enjoy
Hey, who you calling ugly? Ugly? Huh? Who do you think you are, huh? Talking to me like that, huh? Who do you think you are?